If you had a child today, would you vaccinate that child for measles?
For measles, probably for measles. What I would say is my opinions about vaccines are irrelevant. I've directed Jay Bhattacharya.
Sure. No, like I said, I don't want to.
So that everybody can make that decision. But I don't want to seem like I'm being evasive.
Yeah.
But I don't think people should be taking medical advice from me.
It was a brutal day on Capitol Hill for America's top health official. That was just the first hearing of the day. In the second hearing this afternoon, he was again confronted about his stance on vaccines, ending up in a heated argument with Democratic Senator from Connecticut, Chris Murphy.
Are you recommending the measles vaccine or not?
What I've said and what I said...
It doesn't sound like you are, if that's...
Are you going to let me answer? Are you going to keep interrupting?
Are you or are you not?
Are you going to let me answer? What I pledged before this committee during my confirmation is that I would tell the truth, that I would have radical transparency. I'm going to tell the truth about everything we know and we don't know about vaccines.
Are you recommending the measles vaccine or not?
I am not going to just tell people everything is safe and effective if I know that there's issues. I need to respect people's intelligence.
You're answering the question.
Back with me is independent Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders, who's ranking member of the Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Committee, where Kennedy testified today. Senator, I didn't watch all the testimony today. I did see parts of it and read a big chunk of it. What was your overall impression of the Secretary's stewardship of HHS?
Look, he is doing Trump's bidding, Elon Musk's bidding. It's not only that he is evasive on a very simple question of whether or not kids should get measles vaccines. They are making massive cuts at the NIH, other health agencies, cutting back on the kind of research we need for cancer, Alzheimer's, diabetes, and other serious illnesses. So what you are seeing is devastating cuts to very, very important healthcare programs.
Multiple times today, he denied that any scientists have been fired from federal agencies, and that seems to be clearly not true. I think he's either lying or doesn't know, but I think it's very clear that that is true. And I want to say your staff put out a great report. This is, I think, one of the most underappreciated aspects about the cuts that have been happening. 31% cut in cancer research funding, $1.1 billion going down to less than $800 million, a $300 million cut in cancer funding in just the first few months of this year. Do you understand why this is happening? And do you feel like you have a clear answer from the Secretary about what's going on?
Well, their answer is they are reorganizing. They're making these agencies more efficient. The truth is they are cutting billions of dollars from health care in a variety of ways in order to give tax breaks to the wealthiest people in this country. That is what they are doing.
Are you concerned about the management of outbreaks that are happening right now in terms of the communication that's coming from HHS, particularly on something like the measles vaccine and all kinds of things we talked about, treatment of measles as opposed to focusing on the re-eradication of this deadly virus?
Of course I'm concerned. I think every American should be concerned. Vaccines have been one of the great developments in modern history in preventing terrible illnesses. And when you have the head of HHS unable to answer a question about whether or not he supports vaccines for measles, everybody in this country should be deeply concerned, Chris.
I want to ask you about another issue in the news you've been very outspoken on, U.S. foreign policy, particularly as it pertains to the Middle East, Israel, and Gaza. The president, of course, is in the region, made a series of announcements of policy yesterday. There is a real concern, once again, about mass starvation in Gaza. This is after a blockade that's been applied by Israeli forces who say they are applying it to put pressure on Hamas in the next phase of this deal. The New York Times running a piece today saying that in private, some Israeli officers admit that Gaza is on the brink of starvation. Is the U.S. doing enough to pressure the Israeli government to allow aid and food in?
Is the U.S. doing enough? The U.S. has provided billions and billions of dollars to Netanyahu's war machine to cause this horrible, horrible humanitarian disaster. It is absolutely, there was a guy at the UN, I don't know if you caught this. He gave a very impassioned speech at the Security Council, unlike usual UN bureaucrats. And the guy said, history will remember what we are doing right now. And what we in the United States are doing is being complicit in the slaughter of the Palestinian people. Over 50,000 are dead. There's massive malnutrition taking place right now. Children are starving to death. And that is all backed up with U.S. military aid to Netanyahu. As you will remember, I try to stop that military aid. I think the United States should simply say tomorrow to Netanyahu, you're not getting another nickel, not only until there's massive humanitarian aid coming in, but until you start treating the Palestinian people with respect. We move to a two-state solution. But what is going on now is almost unspeakable. And the United States is complicit in this atrocity.